Hello and welcome to Doctor Who Exactly. This is The Sunmakers. This 1977 story features the Doctor against a company that is using natural resources as ransom to make its employees work themselves to death. Insert comical reaction, and I've got the wrong story here.
I do about Doctor Who called Doctor Who Exactly, and we're going to talk about his episode this week, Oxygen. I may or may not have implied in the past that I really like The Mummy on the Orient Express. It's like my quintessential Doctor Who episode. If you were to ask me what is a Doctor Who, I'd point to that. That's not to say there's nothing to love in his other two episodes, Flatline and The Girl Who Died, either. Jamie Mathieson brings us the 5th episode of this series in what so far, in my opinion, has been a strong season. And I know I was going on about how much I loved Knock Knock last week, but Oxygen is the best episode so far. I mean, you could say that the pilot was the best, but that would be your opinion, and your opinion would be wrong. Like I joked about earlier, Oxygen may feel like it's an old Doctor Who story, but in like the new setting, but that is far from a bad thing. We get a cliche death before the credits scene. We do those too many times nowadays, in my opinion. But alongside Peter Capaldi's narration, it serves as a reminder how scary space could be, or rather should be. Nardol's on board for this episode, and the TARDIS. I was very happy that the vibes I got off of him way back in The Return of Dr. Mysterio, they were right. Nardole is basically somebody who's there to give the Doctor grief. The best part about this is he's doing this on behalf of the Doctor. The Doctor told Nardole to give him grief, so Nardole is giving him grief. Now, if the Doctor had listened to Nardole, this episode wouldn't have happened at all, but it's a good thing it did. So the Doctor misses space, and after he visually describes how one would die from exposure to it, or lack of exposure I'd say, he actually whisks Bill away, to rough it up, to have a really dreary experience of how in shambles and rickety space travel could be. Even though the episode references Star Trek, there's very little clean about this. It's not as neat and polished as that. It's way more reminiscent of Alien. Basically, last week I said that the adventures were being too easy on Bill, that she seemed to have a very nice and pleasant experience and not happen anything to her or her friends, even though her friends definitely didn't like last week's episode, I suppose. And when I said I was expecting a traumatic experience to happen to her, I wasn't wishing ill upon her. It just seems like it was building up to a climax where something bad would happen to her. And I'll have to say the events of Oxygen must really have put her through a ringer. The entire classroom introduction about how dangerous space is, this serves as like the setup for her trip into space. The disoriented camera work and the Pearl Mackie going limp, it was not very pleasant to look at, to say the very least. And then, as if one near-death experience wasn't enough, she gets a second one later in the episode. On the whole, this was basically a base on the seat story, as Doctor Who is very much known for, with a very obvious capitalism is bad message. But like I said, Who has done it in the past, and like I said when I was talking about Thin Ice, Who has been political in the past. And sure, I like money just as much as everybody else, but capitalism on the whole, it does have its darker sides. And it's a science fiction story. It's the same thing where Jurassic Park says we shouldn't play God with God's creations. Even though I do like dinosaurs. A couple of things I really liked about the episode was like basically zombies in spacesuits. Bill Mackie as Bill, I still love her so much. The Doctor obviously having been softened since his first series, where he was being hugged and he's like Oh, don't go mushy on me. Not all was great for me. Matt Lucas' little ad-lib of some of my best friends are bluish. Writer Jamie Matheson must absolutely hate it he came up with that on the spot. And the doctor, after being blinded, quipping to Bill about how arrogant he's going to be after he managed to pull out a victory this week. Plus the entire "you have so many breaths left" makes it so much scarier and claustrophobic, and the feeling about this clock running out seems a lot more painful and dangerous rather than the typical "you have 10 minutes until countdown." On the whole, it's a great episode, it's excellent. That being said, if I had to do a ranking, I'd say Oxygen is the best episode of this series so far, followed by Knock Knock, The Pilot, Thin Ice and Smile. And still, none of them have been particularly bad. I really hope that being about halfway to the series now, it's going to keep this up. It would mean to me that at least 2 of Peter Capaldi's series have been absolutely classics beginning to end, though let's not talk about In the Forest of the Night. Next week is Stephen Moffat again, and I'm curious as to what he's going to do now. Last time he did an episode mid-season, it turned out to be Listen, and some people really love it, but that wasn't my cup of tea. Right, I have many social medias. Please go to all of them. Call me an idiot for saying that Knock Knock is a better episode than the pilot. Tell me you hate this scarf, even though it's actually from the BBC online store. Give me a thumbs down to make me insecure about myself and cry myself to sleep. And if you could subscribe, because I've set myself a new goal. I have to have 31 subscribers before 2025. And this is still a regular screwdriver.